Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves.
Hey, all you minties! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of the Absolute Batman, The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. This is the new printing from DC Comics, so let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So what we have here is the new printing of the Absolute Dark Knight Master Race. And this is really the Dark Knight 3. Now, if you're wondering, wait a second, I have Absolute Dark Knight. Where's Absolute Dark Knight 2? Rest assured that is collected in the Absolute edition of Absolute Dark Knight. So this kind of gives you an idea as to how they will look on the shelf. I wish they had redone it like this. That would have been cool. But then to fit all the words Absolute Batman, The Dark Knight, Master Race here, probably better that they stick to this. Now, there is one other book that's not collected in Absolute format set in this particular world, and that is The Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. It is written by Frank Miller, but you also have artwork by Rafael Grampa in here. So this is not collected. Not that it's that many issues. Oh, wait, I forgot. There was like a special print with this one. Not that there's that many issues. There's the print again, sorry. Not that there's that many issues in this, but I do love Grandpa's art style. It's so awesome. So unique. But this is the way the Absolute editions will look on your shelf. Now, this has been previously printed before. This is the 2019 printing over here on the left-hand side. And this is the new printing, and honestly, this looks identical there. Let's look at the back here of the spines. And Absolute Batman, The Dark Knight, Master Race, Frank Miller, Brian Azzarello, Andy Kubert, and Klaus Janson. The DC logo looking identical. Actually, yeah, this is the same. And then the backs of the books. Actually, I have to take my little leaflet off. That's right, Team Leaflet. But this is what the backs look like. Colors look identical and everything. And then, of course, what we saw already, the actual spine of the book itself. Underneath, or not underneath, I'm so used to saying that, out of the slipcase, here is what the art on board looks like. There's an image of Batman right there. We saw the spine, and then the back of the book right here. And the retail price of this Absolute edition is $125. So what I'm going to do is shift the focus back to this and talk primarily about this book, and then I'll do an internal comparison with the first printing. All right, let's go ahead and crack this Absolute open. We have your black end sheets, DK3 right there, Batman's face smashing through the glass. And here is the credits on the left-hand side. Frank Miller, Brian Azzarello, Andy Kubert, Klaus Janson, who inked the previous two Dark Knight stories, and then Brad Anderson supplying the colors. But there's also other artists that do the backup stories, and of course, The Last Crusade, which we'll get to towards the end of this overview. And here is your table of contents, the special thanks right here, and telling you where you're going to find each and every one of these stories and where they originated from. And then, of course, the extras and the biographies back there. You saw this piece earlier, but here we have the Master Race Book 1. So this does collect Batman, The Dark Knight, The Master Race 1 through 9, and then The Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade. The book has 624 pages and retails for $125. Now, going into this book is going to be difficult to do without going into a little bit of spoilers as to what happened previously. So if you haven't read Dark Knight or Dark Knight Strikes Again, the sequel, then maybe read those first. I absolutely recommend reading The Dark Knight if you've never read it. It's a masterpiece, or at least I think so. Dark Knight 2, yeah, it's up to you. And then we have Dark Knight 3. All right, just a fair warning. So in the previous volumes, we did have, of course, the Dark Knight fighting Superman in the original story, and then eventually the Dark Knight fighting the Joker. But there was a twist to that story, and I don't want to reveal what happens. It's been 3 years since that big fight against the Joker. And now we have a world where people are mixing text talk with media. So we had like a social media in the Dark Knight 2, right? Like it was the beginning of social media, and you still had the media. This is like a mix between texting and tweeting and things like that, which I guess is social media, and the media itself, and this is how people get their news. We have, like at the very beginning, it was a little, I was so not reading this right, but I was reading that as I can him. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? No, it's I seen him. This is how people are talking in the future. And it's not everybody, just some of the characters. It's like they're talking through text. And then we have the return of some characters. I'm not going to go through each and every one from the previous volume. Volume 1 of the Dark Knight, the original Dark Knight. And that is Commissioner Yindel. This lady right here, who took over Commissioner Gordon's role. We didn't see her at all in the second story. We get to see what Wonder Woman has been up to. And during this time, after the 3 years that the whole storyline with the Joker was done, Bruce Wayne Batman is now dead, or believed to be dead. So what we have here is we have, well, first of all, Wonder Woman taking down this Minotaur creature, saving people and dealing with things in Themyscira right there. We have her daughter, her and Superman's daughter, Lara, visiting the Fortress of Solitude, where Superman seems to have frozen himself, and she can't get him out of there. But what she notices is that there is a sign that's lit in fire from the bottle city of Kandor that says, "Help us." And that is what this book is about when we're talking about the bottle city of Kandor. Now we go back to Gotham, where this crime is just running amok, and we have a Batman showing up. And holy crap, Batman's back, and the police are after him. And man, this artwork by Andy Kubert is just stellar. I love it. And he's fighting back. So Commissioner Yindel stops Batman, and she's like, "Freeze!" And she's asking where's Bruce Wayne. And as it turns out, under the cowl is none other than Carrie Kelly, the young lady that was Robin in the Dark Knight, and then of course Catgirl in the second book. And now she is playing the role of Batman, and she says Bruce Wayne is dead. Now that is the ending of issue number 1. Each of these issues has a backup story. This one here, written by Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello, but drawn by Frank Miller, Klaus Janson again, supplying the inks, and it focuses on the Atom. Now the backup stories do add to the narrative, and they are very important to read, so you can't skip these. I don't recommend skipping these, because when we're dealing with the Atom and the bottle city of Kandor, what could it mean? Especially when Lara shows up with the city and she's asking for help. So that is where we're going to see this start. I'm not going to talk about the entire book. I'm just going to give you the premise of the story. Eventually, Carrie, she's under arrest, and she ends up getting saved. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We meet this character of Ball, who's kind of crushing on Lara. She's kind of crushing on Ball, and he's stuck in that miniature size because he's in Kandor, where it was just miniaturized by the character of Brainiac. So she has asked the Atom to make them big, to make them look like the way they're supposed to look, right? Like Kryptonians. So this is the Kandor Restoration Project, and it involves science and all these goofy cables. So what happens is we're going to do a few people at a time. We can't do the entire city of Kandor, but we can do a few people is what Ray Palmer decides. And the people that come through, he realizes immediately that he's made a mistake, because it's these group of Kryptonians that have killed another group of Kryptonians. And this is where it gets dark. I mean, the Ray gets taken out quick, or does he? The Atom, the Ray Palmer, the Atom. And then what this guy does, this is Carr, I think is how you pronounce his name, is sentence Kandor to death right here. So he got everybody, all his followers that follow him, this master race of Kryptonians, hence the title, out of the bottle and killing everybody, making them guilty because of the way they treated them. Now, we do get to see who rescued Carrie Kelly, and this is just a build-up, right? Like, I'm not getting to the main crux of the story here. This is the if I'm not mistaken, this is Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo. Yeah, Eduardo Rizzo drawing this, and you see the connection between Lara and her mom, Wonder Woman, and just why she's rebelling as a teen. So what this group of Kryptonians do is they start like bombing cities, like making them suicide bombers, attacking Moscow, and telling people on Earth that they need to be worshipped. They need to be worshipped as gods, and that's the way people on Earth should be treating the Kryptonians. Now we do get Bruce Wayne back. He does come back, Bruce Wayne, Batman, and he tells Carrie, we can't do this alone. So they go and free Superman, and again we get more of the backup stories and build up. And I love this right here. This is actually pretty badass. There's actually some really good moments in here. Let me show you one of my favorite ones, and this isn't a spoiler since you saw what happened, but right here, Carrie's telling this memory of how Bruce Wayne died after, Dark Knight 2 in this book. Of course, she was lying, but he asked the question, did I matter? I thought that was such a good, powerful moment, and I don't know if that was Azzarello or more Miller, but I'm not here to argue. I know there's a whole drama behind the scenes in the making of this book, how it was marketed and how it really went down, and that's because, Frank Miller, he's just very candid when it comes to interviews, and you can look up the interviews yourself if you want to know how this story came about. I'm just here to talk about the story and the artwork. I thought that was a beautiful moment. And then, you have Core that's telling the people of Earth to kneel and that everybody should be worshiping them as gods. And Batman's like, go to hell. And then it just keeps repeating, hell, hell, hell. And then Superman shows up and he's like, you heard my friend, Kryptonians. And that's where I'll let you figure out what happens next. I'm going to show off a little bit of the artwork. This is the weird Green Lantern story. Remember in the second one, he turned into these little creatures. Yeah, those right there. Eventually he does come back. And then, what is going on with the rest of the DC universe in Frank Miller's version of the universe. Now, you saw the cover, and you're probably wondering, wait a minute, who is that? Well, the girl is none other than Carrie Kelly. Now she is going as Batgirl. This was an outfit gifted to her by Batman. I'm not sure why the colors, because I immediately thought of the Joker, and it really doesn't go into the detail as to why he chose those colors. But hey, she's there to summon Aquaman. That's right, Aquaman shows up. He wasn't in the first or second book, but here he is in Dark Knight 3, the Master Race. Now, that's all I will say about the book. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, and you can see some of the fighting and the family drama that's going to happen. And then we're going to look at this little story from I think this one was actually in 2016, but this is written again by Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello, and it has the artwork of John Romita Jr. and Peter Stegward. But this is a prequel one-shot, and it kind of sets up the character of the Joker, and this is the character of Jason Todd that will become Robin, and he's training him to be Robin in this one shot. So that's what this is about, and that is drawn by John Romita Jr. Now, we've got the bonus gallery. We have the introduction here to the covers by Klaus Janson, talking about the behind the scenes of artists throughout the DC comics, picking their favorite moments from either Dark Knight or Dark Knight 2 to draw. And then, of course, we have a lot of Frank Miller variant covers. And by this point, I mean, look at this, just all that extra. We have a lot of variant covers. And there's Dark Knight 3, Master Race 5 by Andy Kubert and Brad Anderson, featuring Batman and Batgirl. I do love the Robin outfit. That's still one of my favorite outfits. If you're thinking that, wait a minute, what happened to the slingshot? It does make a comeback. As well as one of the terms that she used in the first book that, to this day, I don't know what it means. The whole balls. Anyway, that term comes back. This, I believe, was for the slipcase of the box set. So this has come out in a deluxe edition. It's been available in trade paperbacks and then in a box set. It's beautiful Jim Lee covers here. I've always been a Jim Lee fanboy. And again, an homage to classic moments from either Dark Knight or Dark Knight 2. It was up to the artist to choose one. And it's not just Jim Lee and Frank Miller. There's a lot. Brian Bolland, man. There's a lot of different artists. That's awesome. That's by Chris Burnham. There's a lot of different artists take on the characters of Frank Miller's world. Greg Capullo, if they were working at DC Comics at the time, they were asked to do a cover because there is a ton of covers in here. A lot of covers. And we do get to see some sketches and line art for the covers, but most of the time it's a splash page of the finished covers, and that is Rafael Grampa. Man, I love the way he draws. Just the wrinkles. It's over the top. Absolutely. Unnecessary. But I'm here for it. It's Del Keown, and then we have Tyler Kirkham, Chip Kidd, Jay Lee, Francis Manapul, Brian Stillfreeze. And in between some of the covers, you do get to see the sketches. I believe that was Paul Pope, if I'm not mistaken. Ivan Hayes, Eduardo Rizzo, who only did one of the backup stories. And I didn't go through all the backup stories because some of them are spoilery. So I didn't want to do every one of these. This is the slipcase cover art for the Absolute Edition, which you own. But it is collected here in case you bought this secondhand and it didn't have the slipcase. Maybe. And then original art right here, pencils by John Romita, the sketchbook by Andy Kubert, who I think did an awesome job. I really like, well, and it helps to have Klaus Janson ink your pencils to make it look like that Frank Miller-ish type of style. And then the biographies on Frank Miller, Brian Azzarello, Andy Kubert, and Klaus Janson and Brad Anderson. And your end sheets. Now the binding, 624 pages. It is sewn binding, and it does have a ribbon right here. And it's printed in this thick, glossy paper stock. And now what I want to do is compare the internal artwork to the original printing. All right, let's go ahead and open these books up. Your end sheets, black end sheets. And then your title page, DK3 right there. And removing the DK3 so you can see Batman's face just going through that glass. Special thanks over here. Colors looking the same. Table of contents looking the same. It does have the exact same page count. I don't expect it to look different, honestly. This one was printed in 2019. This one in 2024. Colors looking identical. Paper stock feeling just as thick as the original. Yeah, there's just no difference. And, hey, we don't have to go far for a spread page. So, yeah, the way that the book lays over, very little to non-existing gutter loss. Let's look at one more. I love that image. It's ridiculous. It's a minotaur. It's a half horse. Whatever. It's still badass. But there you go. And just one more spread page so you can see the differences. And again, no real gutter loss. And yes, your media commentary is still there, spreading rumors or stating facts. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this Absolute Edition, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that was the content, the page count, and build, and of course the comparison to the original printing. Let me know in the comments down below if you missed out on the original printing and you're picking this up, if you're collecting all of Batman in Absolute Editions or all the Absolute Editions, or just specific storylines. And if you hope one day we'll get the Golden Child in an Absolute Edition. Any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.